Hello, I'm Gavin Simon. It's Wednesday at the ARC Industry Forum. I'm joined with Kelly here. Kelly, can you give us a brief introduction to yourself today and what brought you here, and maybe a little bit of introduction of the panel discussion that you had this morning?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Kelly Lopez. I work with Scout Sourcing, which is a woman-owned sustainable packaging company. We supply paper, packaging, and a variety of different solutions to a lot of major companies across the U.S. And this morning, I talked a little bit about the competitive pressures that exist in the world for industrial manufacturers as it relates to sustainability. So brands are really committed to sustainability because they have a lot of pressures from consumers and also from the investors and the government, and so that rolls down very much into the supply base. So it's coming, and those brands that are those suppliers that take sustainability very seriously and bring solutions to the table have an opportunity to really grow with these brands.
Let me ask you this. How long have you been in this industry? I'm sure you weren't in high school and college imagining that you were going to be in this spot today. How did you get into this?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am a Gator. I went to UF, just like you, Gavin.
You're both
so
Gators
we can
here.
do our Gator chomp, which is great. But I majored in public relations, and I worked for about 20 years with a Fortune 500 manufacturing company, selling print solutions to Fortune 500 companies. And about a year and a half ago, I joined Scout Sourcing as a woman-owned company with a focus around sustainability. And it's been so much fun to really take an entrepreneurial look and try to figure out what products and services we need to grow and bring to our customer base. Yeah. And I'm really excited to be here because there's so much great content that has come out of the session. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to learning from a lot of other folks.
Good. So it's been a year and a half, you said. The value of having your values aligned with the company that you're working for, not only is it woman-owned and operated, but it's also sustainability. It has a sustainability lens to that. Do you think that's important to you in your career now, or did you have that privilege prior? As someone like myself, I'm a young professional, and I think it's super important, and I'm super lucky to be able to work in sustainability because, one, I'm passionate about it, but I also am aligning myself with ARC's values in our work. So
yeah, I mean, it's funny because I don't want to date myself, but when I came out of college, sustainability wasn't anything even close to what it is today, and in a couple more years it'll look completely different too. So I'm really excited. I mean, back in the day, it used to be like, oh yeah, you just recycle, and that was sustainability. And if it's recycled, then hey, it's good. Turn off your water fountain and everything's fine.
The toothbrush thing.
Exactly. So it's changed so much over the course of the last 10 to 20 years, and it will continue to evolve. And it absolutely is important to me. So sustainability is really key to me because I think we all have a responsibility to make sure that the earth is a habitable place for our children and their children and on down the generations.
Exactly. So please, just give me a baseline definition of supplier diversity and maybe what supplier diversity looks like today and maybe what it could look like 10 years down the road.
Okay, yeah, so supplier diversity is really a business strategy that a lot of companies take to buy goods or services from a company that's owned or operated by a woman or a minority or veteran-owned or LGBTQ. So there's a lot of different categories that fall into supplier diversity. And it's extremely important because the companies that have supplier diversity programs are proven to typically be more profitable than other ones because diverse suppliers have the ability to bring more flexible, innovative ideas and also help just drive down competitive pressures in the marketplace. And so right now, supplier diversity is a huge market. So I saw McKinsey published a survey of the Fortune 200. And in 2021, they spent $29 billion with a B dollars with diverse suppliers. So think about it, that's a lot. But the crazy thing is the 2030 goal. Yeah. Brace yourself. $50 billion. $50 billion of these Fortune 200 companies.
And that's right around the corner. I feel like these goals are, to me, it seems like, oh, shoot, it's so far down the road. But it truly is coming up, and that's going to be a huge opportunity for a lot of businesses to ramp up their supplier diversity.
Yeah, it's huge, and it's coming very fast. And And what that means, especially for a lot of the industrial manufacturers and any manufacturer of products, which means those brands that have committed, those Fortune 200 that have committed, there's only so much that they can buy from women-owned companies. So they're going to look to their suppliers and say, hey, what are you guys buying? And could you report that to me? And when they do, that's considered a tier 2 spend for supplier diversity. So tier 1 would be a company buying something from a diverse-owned company. Tier 2 is when the suppliers are buying from that. And they collect all that data and they report it, and $50 billion is coming very fast.
That was a lot of money. And kind of reminds me of the scope 1 and scope 2 emissions. So I think that's so funny that there's that comparison in almost every industry regarding sustainability and abroad. And
it's very similar. I mean, from the talk this morning was very much about how manufacturers that embrace sustainability have a competitive edge. It's the exact same thing for manufacturers that embrace supplier diversity, because these brands need that spend. They have to have it. And so if manufacturers have built it into their supply chain, it's great.
Yeah, the consumers are applying that pressure, and I think it's needed. It's good to, I'm glad with where we are now, but the consumer, we're going to be pushing the buck. We're going to be making sure that we're actually thinking with our dollars, and I'm excited to see the future of that.
It's true, and that's what's driving the brand's commitment. You know, they recognize that consumers are a lot smarter. They follow the money, right? Consumers want it, investors want it, and the supplier diversity really falls into the S of ESG.
Yep.
So oftentimes we hear ESG and everybody immediately goes to the environmental part.
Right.
And they focus in on sustainability, and they're forgetting about the corporate social responsibility part. And that's where diversity, supplier diversity, and some of these other factions fall in.
And then the G in the government, that's going to be the pushing, that's going to be the federal and the political push that is needed as well. And so I think that's super important. I think somebody who's involved in sustainability and who is very I'm an environmentalist, but there's always that other two pillars that people seem to forget about, and they seem to forget it takes a lot of work to get these things pushed and things moving, and it's a huge machine that we're just cranking along.
And it's hard, and that's why there's just great organizations that are out there that exist that help advance supplier diversity.
Let's talk about the Women's Business Enterprise Council. I was stalking your LinkedIn, as someone does to prepare for an interview, and I saw this council that you were a part of, and I was like, oh, I definitely have to ask you about this. So
yeah. The WBENC is an amazing organization. So it's a nonprofit organization, and the sole focus that they have is to really help women-owned businesses thrive. It's WBENC. And there's other organizations for different categories of supplier diversity. There's one for minority and veteran-owned and LGBTQ. Okay. But the WBENC operates on a couple different principles. One, they use an acronym like everybody does, right?
So
you got to have an acronym with everything, just like WeBank is an acronym to begin with. But they operate off CORE. So CORE is the C is certification. So they are one of the certifying bodies that certify a woman-owned business. And they do this through audits and site visits and financial reviews, and it has to be 51% owned and operated, making business decisions.
Yeah, the operation is the key that you kept reminding me on our previous call.
It has to be, because you could just take a business and put it in somebody's name and call it a day, but no, you have to be certified, and that's the C in that. And then the rest of the acronym, the O, is opportunities. So the WBENC creates significant amount of opportunities to connect woman-owned businesses with corporations looking to advance their supplier diversity efforts. Yep, they do it through events, they do it through networking, they do it through a conference. It's next month in Nashville. And then even over above that, you have the R of CORE, going through the acronym, the R, which is resources. So they do a tremendous amount of learning and engagement, as well as partnering up, mentorship, and things like that. And then E is engagement. It's an ongoing body, and it really is there to help businesses thrive from when they get their start to when they're scaling, and then also really giving back to the next generation of female business leaders.
So what type of requirements do these companies need to meet to receive that certification?
So it doesn't seem that complex because, you have to be 51% owned or operated by a woman. The highest position within an organization needs to be the female.
Okay.
It's audited, there's site visits, there's a
Okay.
lot of other detail because it's really important to keep to the intention of a women-owned business.
Is there a recurring, are they being checked up every year?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
every year. It's the whole thing every year. So it's to make sure, and then any changes in the business as the business grows, they really work very closely with you to understand your business and where it's going. But yep, you're recertified every year, and
Nice.
all the major companies, or any really company that has a supplier diversity program, they want your certificate. They look it up, they see it, you update their portal, and they check you off the list. Okay, and we can proceed with the conversations now.
Okay.
Right?
It's like license and registration, please.
Exactly.
So focusing on the sustainability side of things, why do you think it's important to have diversity in sustainability and then also women in sustainability? Why is that engagement? Why is the presence of women and diverse groups of people in these spaces like the ARC Forum important? And to you?
No, well, it's important to me, for personal reasons. I'm a woman, right? But no, I think we'll all agree that society seems to function better when there's diverse seats at the table and there's different viewpoints, different ways to solve problems, and different solution sets. And I think it's really important for corporations to advance women into the field of sustainability or leadership or packaging or any really type of industry, because when they're recruiting talent, folks come on into the business world and they want to see someone that looks like them in a position of leadership so that they know they feel welcome and they feel comfortable and they have an opportunity to grow.
That was one of my questions that we didn't really discuss, but how do you, as your experience as a woman in this space, do you think it's been affected? Do you think you've had to jump through other hoops, or do you think you've had a great relationship with other women in the industry that have given you the respect and also the introductions that you needed? Or
I feel like it's definitely come a long way from when I started. Not too long ago, out of college. But it's definitely come a long way. I will say, there isn't necessarily gender equality in the workplace yet. But I think it's everybody's responsibility to help out and continue to drive that diversity. And I've been very fortunate to have amazing mentors. Not until recently were any of them female, believe it or not. So I've had some amazing male leaders that have recognized the experiences or some traits in me that put me in a great position and introduced me to the right folks to continue to advance my career. So that's been great. But I work for an amazing woman now. Her name is Nancy Walsh, and she's the president and CEO of Scout Sourcing. She started the company about 16 years ago. And it's been great working under her and learning from her.
Awesome. So turning to the negative things, I guess, or where do you find the pain points in supplier diversity or sustainability packaging? Where are you tripping up? Where are you having meetings about, this is something that we need to figure out in the next year or so?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge that exists when it comes to supplier diversity is that most women-owned businesses are small by nature. So if you look at, a little over 98% do less than $1 million in annual revenue. So when you get back to that goal of 20 billion, growing an extra 21 billion over where it is today, these companies couldn't hire enough people to do vendor management at that scale.
That huge opportunity.
Right. Yeah. So it's hard for companies to do that. So that's why I feel like the tier 2 approach with supplier diversity is going to expand pretty rapidly. And companies are taking it very seriously. They're developing mentorship programs where they're actually helping to consult, free of charge with women-owned businesses in order to help put them in a position to scale with their companies and others.
Awesome. Okay, so as somebody who's a young professional, this is my first conference. I'm 2 years into my career. Imagine that you want to give somebody, a young professional, some advice who wants to maybe get into sustainability packaging or become a part of your council or maybe be in the same shoes that you are in today. What advice would you give a young woman, young professional? What advice would you provide and share?
Yeah, so if it's sustainability, I would say you pick the right field.
Okay.
So I don't think companies can hire fast enough for folks with experience and knowledge in the sustainability field. So that's going to grow tremendously. So if you are coming out into the workforce, sustainability is definitely the way to go. So check one, you got it, Gavin,
Okay.
you're good, right? The sustainability, you pick the right profession because CEOs are just putting more and more money and more resources into it. And this conference all day is just talking about how much transformation is happening. And so good step one, you pick the right profession, right? And next I would say just to make sure that you stay up to date on what's going on. So innovation moves faster than you could possibly imagine. And if you're not staying up on industry trends and you're not a lifelong learner and you're not a reader and you're not a part of the ARC, forum here, then, I mean, that's a big part of it. Active participant, collaborating with your peers. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And then for folks in general, just looking to advance their career, I'd say the biggest part is get a seat at the table and step into your responsibility and take initiative to ask what you can do and continue to look for more opportunities, because right now in corporate America, especially coming out of the pandemic, I think there's so many people that have fallen into a category of check the box. I did my job, I'm done, now I can go do yoga, it's I'm working from home, it's good. And so I feel like those folks that are taking initiative and are saying, what else can I do? I want to be a part of things, how can I grow? Those are the ones that are going to advance their career.
I've said this like 3 times today, I swear, but the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
This is true. This is true.
So somebody like you're a super busy woman, you're doing amazing things. I would love to hear, can you just share your contact details for somebody who maybe wants to connect with you, contact you, maybe want to have, they just want to listen to your advice or career advice, maybe just plug all your socials.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm extremely active on LinkedIn. So I'm Kelly G. Lopez on LinkedIn. So I'm very active there. You can check out my company's website at scoutsourcinginc.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate this. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And once again, we are at the ARC Industry Forum, and I look forward to speaking with you guys soon.